Magic Sunrise Summit,
All right.
Seascape Viva, and Valiant
And we
Lady.
are live. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Cruising is Life podcast. Don't mind Justin. He was looking up a schedule for a upcoming trip we were planning.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry.
but anyways, hope you guys are excited for another episode of the podcast. It's been going pretty well so far, I think. We're already on episode 6, which is crazy to believe that we've been doing this for 6 weeks now.
That's crazy.
Or I guess no, 5 weeks, because we did an extra episode last week. But still, 5 weeks is still crazy. But we have an exciting topic for this week, and something that I think if anybody or anyone that like content creator wise is good to talk about like this sort of topic, I think it would be us, because short cruising, is it good? Is it bad? I don't really. I mean,
I don't know.
it's how you look at
It
it,
depends on
but
who you ask.
it really depends on who you ask. But I think if anybody is qualified to talk about this and the pluses and minuses of it, I think it would be us. Seeing that
Oh,
we did
absolutely.
so we did a 3 night on Mariner. I did 3 times on Independence last year. So we've done at least 10 short cruises. Maybe not 10,
Yeah,
but we've done at least 5 or 6 short cruises over the last like 2 years. And we've got
right.
majority of next year's cruises are short cruises as well. So it's
Exactly.
it's definitely a big turn in the industry, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you just look over the last, even just since COVID, like the weekend cruises have just taken off.
They really have. And I think the biggest thing with them, I think, is the ships that we're getting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like we were just talking about it before, a couple of years ago, maybe not a couple at this point, but back in the day, they had Majesty, Enchantment, Norwegian Sky, and like 2 fantasy class ships from Carnival running weekend cruises. Now you've got Carnival Liberty, Utopia of the Seas, eventually when she comes out, Allure of the Seas, Freedom of the Seas, Liberty of the Seas, Independence was doing it, she just switched over, but
Hmm.
the weekend cruises are kind of becoming the trend right now,
They really
for new
are.
cruises like that.
They really are. It's crazy to think that, just a few years ago we had Majesty of the Seas. And honestly, I've said this to you many times before, but if my option here in Port Canaveral for a 3 and 4 night cruise was Majesty of the Seas, I wouldn't be doing nearly as many 3 night cruises as we've been doing.
Right. We might have done one just to do it, because that's kind of how we are now. But yeah, you're right. Like we wouldn't have done it 3 times like we did Independent, or like you did Independence. We did it twice. We wouldn't have gone the other weekend when we went on Allure. Like we wouldn't have
Hmm.
been doing all the different cruises if it was for that.
Right, exactly. And we've pretty much done all 3 of the Freedom class ships last year, and we've got another
Right.
Freedom class, Liberty of the Seas. We're going on it again for 3 nights out of
Yeah,
Fort Lauderdale.
can't wait. Can't wait.
So excited for that. It's gonna be a good cruise. And like
Absolutely.
it's it's a convenience thing, I think. And it really depends on where you're coming from too. Like as far as like geographically and whether you're coming from inside the US, like, a couple states away, if you're a Florida resident, if you're coming internationally, that plays a big factor in this entire conversation too.
Right. Absolutely.
Because me personally, if I was traveling internationally, I you would not see me flying to, Shanghai. You wouldn't see me flying to Tokyo. You wouldn't see me flying to Sydney for a 3 night cruise.
Right. There's no way. It wouldn't be worth it.
Right, exactly. But it is something, at least for the Florida market, it's booming right now, and I think the Florida market is what Royal Caribbean is realizing they have a really big grasp of. And even the topic of this in general isn't even just pertaining to Royal Caribbean, although I think they're doing this the best. Out of any of the cruise line, it's not even a competition. They're doing it better than anybody else is right now, but you know, I guess it's not just pertaining to them.
Right. And like you said with the Florida market, especially this time of year, I guess year round, at least in Orlando, you get all
Mhm.
the theme park traffic, Disney, Universal,
Right.
SeaWorld. So the people that are flying down here and doing, a couple days at the parks, whatever it is, then they're like, "Oh, we'd also love to go on a cruise, but you're not going to go, with kids and stuff, you only got a certain amount of days that they're off of school. You're not going to go to Disney World for 5 or 6 days and then go on a 7 night cruise. Like you just don't have the time, and
Right.
especially with what Disney is charging right now. So when you have an option to do, a 3 night cruise, you can just do, go to Disney or Universal for a few days and just hop on a cruise for the weekend, and then it's perfect, and you still get to do a cruise, I mean, whether it's a 7 night or a 3 night cruising is cruising, and you're still going to get that same kind of experience whether you go for the short weekend cruises or the week long cruises.
Hmm.
So I think that's what draws a lot of the people into these weekend cruises, because they still have the opportunity to go without spending the extra money for the week long cruise and having to take those extra vacation days.
Right, exactly. And especially, when you mention like looping it all into one big vacation, it's it's not all that common. And actually back, many years ago, when I was in I say many years ago, back when I was in, I think it was maybe my freshman, maybe 8th grade, maybe freshman year of high school, for spring break, we so my sister had a cheer competition down in Tampa, which is cool because our big hotel room, it was overlooking the channel, so I got to watch the Carnival Pride leave from like I forgot
Nice.
I want to say it was maybe the Marriott. It had a really big glass like centerpiece where you could see through it. Um,
Okay, I think it is the Marriott. Yeah.
but I was able to just like sit out like from because it had like that big like not a balcony, but there was that overlook basically that you could look down into the lobby. But like I pretty much like watched. I think it was the Legend at the time. It was the Legend of the Pride. I think it was the Pride.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Whatever. I don't know.
but I watched the ship leave from that little spot through the window and everything. But back on topic. So um, my sister had a cheer competition that Saturday that our spring break started, and so she had her cheer competition. We did that, and then once her cheer competition ended, we had the full weekend. So what we did
Right.
is that we went over to Disney for 3 days, and then this was when they had the Sensation running the weekend cruises, which at that time was a Thursday to Sunday, like the Liberty was doing
Right.
originally, which is a
Right.
weird one, but that's what they were doing back then. And
Mm-hmm.
so, we spent 2 to 3 days at Disney, and then we drove over to Port Canaveral once we were done at Disney, and we took a 3 night cruise or a 4 night cruise, which I think it was three. But we took a 3 night cruise on the Sensation, and then that was way ahead of its time, and we only did that cruise because that was back when Carnival was doing the 10 cruises you hit platinum, and
Mm-hmm.
we had the big Carnival Victory cruise out of San Juan later that year. So we booked that one so we could hit number 10 and be platinum on the big like San Juan cruise. So that's really
Right.
the only reason we did it. But that idea and what we did now or like back then is like really what they're looking at now. Is that type of market, that type of vacation. I think at least when it comes to this demographic, this type of cruise.
Right. And I mean, even with like, on the topic with Disney, they have the Disney Wish doing 3 and 4 night cruises out of Port Canaveral. So you got a family that goes to Disney World for 4, 5, 6 days or whatever, and then straight from their hotel they can hop on a Disney Cruise Line bus and take it out to Port Canaveral and do a 3 or 4 night cruise. And when you like, you can just consider that like your Disney vacation.
Hmm.
You do a little bit in Orlando at Disney World, then you go on a cruise. I think that's what Royal Caribbean's trying to do, and they've been doing a great job at it. They're getting those people that have the extra days that they're not spending at the hotel at the theme parks, and we're just gonna go home otherwise, or maybe go to the beach or something.
Hmm.
And they're like, hey, it's spring break. You're at Disney World or Universal for a couple days. Come on a cruise to the Bahamas for a few more days and just extend your holiday. And I think they went in it at the right time, and I think with the ships that they're putting on it, obviously I think it was kind of a test when they put the Freedom class on it to see how they would do with a bigger ship doing shorter cruises. Because back in the day,
Hmm.
cruising was more about like the week long cruises. Like that's what everything was. Like
Yeah, and I
and
still
now
think it
they
is to an extent, but there's definitely a
oh,
big change when it comes to length of cruises.
right, exactly. So I think when they put the Freedom class on, it was a test, at least
Hmm.
with Freedom of the Seas, and they saw how well it did, and they put Liberty and Independence on it.
Hmm.
And now they've got Allure doing it, and they got Utopia coming out. So I think
Hmm.
I think they're hitting it at the right time because it seems like the industry is starting to kind of shift a little bit.
Right, exactly. And when you mention, Disney and, you can just hop on a bus and go from the parks to go sail on the Wish for the weekend, they've been doing that since 98. They've been doing
Right.
that since the Disney Magic was brand new, almost, 25
Right.
years now, which is
Yeah,
crazy to
it's
think
crazy.
about, but they've been doing that for 25 years. And, not to say that that was their intention the whole time, but that's a Disney idea is, hey, come spend
Mhm.
a couple days at the parks with us and then go on a cruise. That's essentially the entire idea of why they're doing why they even started Disney Cruise Line in the first place.
Right. And I mean, I don't know what kind of history you know about that. It's just from someone I watched on YouTube.
Bright
But
Sun
they were
Films,
doing that. Yes, they were doing that
Port Disney.
before. Right. They were doing that way before they even had a Disney ship. What was
Yep.
the
Port Disney.
port? Yeah, and they the ships were like those red ones, like the big red boat they called them or something
Oh
like that.
yeah,
Premier
Premiere.
Cruises.
Yes.
So they were doing that even before they had a cruise, and they saw how successful it could be.
Hmm.
So Disney basically said, "Screw it, we're gonna build our own cruise line," and that's kind of where Disney Cruise Line came from.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, so they've really been doing this longer than 25 years, really.
Right.
But yeah,
so
and then
they've
they
been
had that
ahead of the game
whole
for a
Port
while.
Port Disney project over in LA, which I think ended up getting scrapped because that's the whole Long Beach Pier terminal where Carnival
Right.
uses. But like I think
You
that
know,
ended up coming out as Tokyo Disney Sea.
right. Yeah. You know how crazy that would have been? They would have
Hmm.
expanded a whole port area, a whole theme park,
Hmm.
monorail system, resorts, shopping district, and then on top of that, you had a pier.
You have
think
a
in the
cruise ship
renderings,
right
it showed
there.
5 terminals at least, like 5 piers that you can pull
Hmm.
up to. If that happened, that would have become like the Port Canaveral of the West Coast
Oh,
for like
absolutely.
Disney.
And it's weird because
So
that's like such a dead market. So I don't know if they maybe kind of lucked out on that one because the West Coast cruises
right.
are kind of dead.
Yeah, I think that was as nice as it would have been to see something like that, like how cool it would have been.
Hmm.
I think, like you said, I think they kind of lucked out with that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, and it's not even. I think a lot of the success behind it is Coco K, though. I guess refocusing back
Oh yeah,
over to, you know, the weekend cruises, especially here out of Florida, is Coco K. That changed the industry, I think, as far at least for these short cruises, and I think that's where we're kind of coming from here is the expansion of private islands.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't think they would have put as much emphasis on weekend cruises, especially with Utopia coming out and how they're putting that directly onto the 3 and 4 nights. If it wasn't for the Coco K renovation, I
mhm.
don't think we would be where we're at today. I think, like you
Yeah.
said, that's what changed everything.
Yeah, because I think whenever they first, they had the idea and that they were renovating it, making it really cool, like built up, the water parks, all of that. And then, like you mentioned earlier, they had the Navigator and they had the Mariner running 3 nights and 3 and 4 nights.
Right.
And those had just been upgraded. So they have older ships, yes, comparable in age to the Conquest class that I think
Right.
Carnival was running at the time. If not, it was a Destiny or the Triumph class.
Right.
But they they took upgraded older ships to where it wasn't like they were putting an Oasis class on there, but they had a brand quote unquote brand new island. They did the same thing to the island as they were doing to the ships in a sense.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and then they went, "Oh my god, this was one of the best ideas we've ever had."
Yeah. I think they did a little too well on that.
They did it. They did an incredible job with Coco K, and they're really only expanding on it. They have Hideaway
Mhm.
Beach, which, by the way, now that we're on topic of Hideaway Beach, that adults only area, it's like $30 to do that whenever we go on Liberty. So we should definitely try
All right, I'm in.
that. um, but they're continuing to expand Coco Cay. They have got a new water slide that we saw, whenever we were going in there. So like they got the big water park, they've got the zip line, they got all this, and they're they're just making it literally the perfect day, or they're making it the best vacation destination you can go to, and it's right here in Port Canaveral. It's right here
Right.
in Florida. Well, not
Right.
Florida, but you know what I mean. It's
It's basically right off the coast.
right
I
off the
mean,
coast. You can be in Coco Cay the next morning, which is normal.
you could, if the ships went full speed, they could probably get there that night. I mean, that's how
Exactly.
close. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be till like maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night,
Hmm.
but that gives you an idea of how close it's right there.
Right, exactly. And it's crazy to think that it allows them to do this, and
Right.
and Nassau's never been the most ideal and like highly sought after cruise port. Everybody, non-cruisers usually go, "Oh, the Bahamas is so cool. We're going to the Bahamas, baby. Let's go."
Right.
And then
Yeah.
and then they get to Nassau, or at least, the average seasoned cruiser is like, "Ugh, Nassau." But now it's
Right. Yeah.
nice. We haven't been since it's been refurbished,
No.
but like And Nassau's nice now. That's like part of why I wanted to go on the Liberty in March that we booked.
Are we going there?
Yeah.
To that? Okay, I can't even remember
Yeah, I
anymore.
think yeah, I think we go to Nassau first and then we're in Coco Cay with the Odyssey the next day. Um,
That I remember.
yes.
That is why
But
we're going.
that is why we're going because the Odyssey is going to be docked next to us in Coco Cay.
Right.
We didn't book it to go on the Odyssey, or we didn't book the Odyssey to go on the Odyssey. We booked Liberty to see the Odyssey.
Right, exactly. I mean, how else are you gonna do it, right?
Exactly, exactly. And hey, when you're ship spotters like us, that's another reason to do these short cruises. Man,
For
when I
real.
go on the Utopia, we're gonna have the Allure. We're gonna have a double Oasis class day in both of my ports.
It's crazy. Yeah, I think we
Hey,
just have Harmony when I go, we just have Harmony and Coco K, which is, I mean, is gonna be awesome. But yeah, I mean, that's gonna become the thing now. Once Utopia comes out, it's gonna be double Oasis class ships in either Coco or Coco and Nassau all the
mhm.
time. It's gonna be like a regular thing, which is insane to think about.
It really is. And I guess shifting over to not only just Coco Cay but Nassau, they have that I forgot. Is it called High? No, it's not Hideaway Beach. It's there's a Royal Caribbean Beach Club. Think that may just be the name is the Beach Club. But
Wherever
that
that lighthouse is on the between the port and the ocean is where they're
mhm.
doing it.
Right. So there's as like you come into the harbor itself, there's a lighthouse at the end of the rocks, and there's just like a strip of land. It's that strip of land has been abandoned for as long as I can remember.
Yeah,
And Royal Caribbean is I'm assuming they purchased the land and they're building all of that up. And
yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
right, exactly. And you got the big expansion to Nassau itself, the actual port actually looks nice now.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also have, the extended pier. You can dock two Oasis class back to back on the outside pier, which is insane.
Insane.
Insane. Plus, you can fit about five other ships on top of that in the other piers in the other
Yeah.
docks. So it's crazy. You can now Nassau is getting there at least for when
Mm-hmm.
you're sailing Royal Caribbean. Nassau is going to be a good port. I don't know
Right.
about Carnival. People on Carnival are going to be looking over it and being like, "Come on, like why can't
Right.
I be over there?"
And it's crazy to think, like back when the Oasis first came out. I know she was running the 7 nights, so it's not really on topic. But
Mhm.
when she first came out, they didn't even think she was gonna fit into Nassau. They had to do all that renovation just to the harbor to get her in there. And even when the ship came out, they weren't even done yet. I mean, they
Mhm.
still managed to get her in there on that first sailing.
Mhm.
But like they couldn't even handle a ship like that. Now they can handle two, and Royal Caribbean's putting in the money to put like their own little private,
Mhm.
little section there. I mean, yeah, the Nassau has come a long way.
Right, exactly. And yeah, Nassau's come a really long way, and I think private islands are coming a really long way, and even Freeport, Royal Caribbean's got some sort of project going on over there. With
Yep.
I don't know if they're revitalizing the port itself. I know they're doing a lot of work with the dry docks and stuff like that over there in the shipyard, but they're doing something over in that port area in the harbor. Either that or it's
Right.
going to be near it. I know Carnival
Right.
is like down, I think it's like 5 miles. I think Carnival's got their own thing. Well, we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah, it's
But
down the coast.
right, but Royal Caribbean's got something going on over in Freeport too. And then I saw something earlier about a place called Rum Cay, which is about 300 miles from Nassau. So
Right.
they're gonna have almost 4 or 5 different Bahamas destinations.
Yeah. I think that's just the way things are going right now. I mean, there's only so many places you can go in the Caribbean. I mean, and there's a
Hmm.
lot, don't get me wrong. Like there's a bunch of places,
Hmm.
but I think that the trend is private destinations because people hate going to these ports and getting hassled by the locals, which
Hmm.
I guess they've been kind of better at. Like I haven't really noticed it that much
Hmm.
recently, but they're tired of that. And I mean, how many times can someone go to Cozumel or St. Thomas or Nassau or something? So I think these private island or private sections of these ports
Hmm.
is what's bringing people in. Like they could just go and relax all day and not have to worry about anything like that.
Right, exactly. And you know, yeah, some of these ports they're nice, but they're not the best thing out
Mhm.
there. I mean,
Right.
I got ripped in the comments on one of my Horizon videos that I made that I said I didn't like Ocho Rios because that place is a dump.
Yeah,
I
that place
didn't.
is.
I people ripped me for saying it was a dump, but like there's nothing there. It's just a bunch of pop-up tents, and like it wasn't very clean. I was getting followed around by the locals. I did not feel safe there.
Right.
And one, I had a backpack on. I mean, I look like I may know what I'm doing in these ports. I've been to all these ports multiple times, but like I have a backpack, I've got a camera, I'm vlogging. I look like a tourist, which I am, but
Oh,
like
100%. Right.
even me as a seasoned cruiser that's been to some of these ports all the time, like there's a reason I try to avoid Jamaica as much as I can.
Right.
I never, I mean, unless I'm at Falmouth, which I not really the biggest fan of Falmouth in the first place because there's nothing there. But like there's some of these places there's nothing really there in the first place. And
Mhm.
if you leave the port area, you take one step out, God help you. So,
For real,
and
it's good luck at that
I'm not
point.
saying Nassau is any better because Nassau is just as bad. We've been offered a lot worse than the green stuff. We've been a lot
Right,
we've been offered a lot worse than green stuff. Just
right off the
walking down
pier.
right off the pier.
That was a fun day.
Yeah. It's like, you guys want some of this? You want some of this? And as we
And I
continue to
was
walk
like,
by,
yeah, I'll come hang out with you for the day. Just kidding. Just a joke. Just a prank.
and oh, you want to, oh, we got cigars, we got this, we got that, and we're like, oh no, we're good. And then as we're walking by, for the sake of the podcast, you want some Coca-Cola?
That
Oh
white
no, we would
Coca-Cola.
not like any of that, sir. Let's get out of here, please.
Yeah,
So
and I mean we really go on cruises nowadays, at least when me and Brandon go, is to ship spot in the ports.
yeah, that's all we go for.
So yeah, so the only reason we left the port area is to get pictures of the ship from a
That was
different
the only
angle.
reason we were there in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. So like ports like Labadee and Falmouth and Ocho Rios and stuff like that. There's no ships. Like there's nothing going on there.
Mhm.
And I mean, like I know like people are like, oh, you got to go do like the touristy things and go to like this and that. That's great and everything, but like I'm here to see the other cruise ships. That's all I care about.
Right, exactly. And there's a sailing on the Voyager that we were just eyeing before this podcast that we are going
Yeah.
just to see. Not that I have at that point won't have already been on the Icon, but like, I want to go on the Voyager now because it's in Coco Cay with Icon like every week.
Right. So like we have to go.
Exactly. And it's got a good lineup in all the other places, but like, I guess refocusing here. So, Nassau is getting better. It's getting a lot better. That was, of course, all of that, fiasco there we just talked about was pre renovations. Now
Right.
that place, it's got like a whole amphitheater, like for concerts. It's got like
It's very
a
nice.
shopping mall. It's very nice. I'm excited to go there in March.
Yeah.
So that's
I'm
like the
very looking-
first time I've legitimately felt like excited to go see Nassau for the first time,
For real.
as long as I can remember.
Exactly.
So, Nassau is getting better. And then there's that weird side project on Freeport that we don't know anything about. And then there's that Rum Cay that we know nothing about. Who knows what they can do with that? Whether it's going to be another Coco Cay or if it's going to be, just like the original version of Coco Cay where it's, the
Right.
relaxation area that, people do still think that, or not think, but people do still say they miss the original version of Coco Cay. So that could be part of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean there's always I feel like I'm in that kind of group, not maybe about Coco Cay. I never went there before the renovation.
Mhm.
I think there's a bit of I don't even know if you call it nostalgia. That's kind of my thing. But there's just always that group that like things the way they were.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do to it, it could be like the best thing in the world. Like I think what they did to Coco Cay was like the best thing ever.
Mhm.
But you're always gonna have those people that are like, oh, I'd rather just go to a legit private island
Mhm.
that's just a forest and sit on the beach all day. Which I
Right.
mean is fine,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
that's just not that's not the generation that we're in now, unfortunately.
No, not at all. And, that's, the nostalgia factor. And I think having things in its original state. That's why I liked the Liberty and why I liked the Allure so much, is because they had the
Right.
original vibes of when they first came out.
Exactly. I'm the same way.
Yeah, and I forgot what I was gonna say. um, so
Classic.
so I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, they've got so many of these new destinations, and we haven't even scratched the surface on Carnival and what they're cooking over there in
Right.
Freeport, and just the possibilities of what it could be. Because I think if Carnival really did that right, it could really change the game for them.
Right. And I think they're on the right path. It might take them a little bit
Yeah,
because they this might prompt them to build more Excel class ships. Just to, keep two or three of them on the week-long cruises
hmm
and then put one or two on weekend cruises out of, Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, whatever. Especially with that new destination they've got opening up.
right, exactly. And you know, my thing with Carnival is that I think if they're going to add any more of the Costa by Carnival ships, it's it's a risk, but I as like a seasoned Carnival cruiser, I would like to see it. I'm really excited.
Right.
That's one of my favorite, like my most exciting things about our Venezia cruise that we got coming up is the whole how is this going to be compared to like a normal Carnival cruise? Like, is it going to be the same? Is it going to be
Right.
different? And I know that
Yeah.
Venezia sailings have been out for a couple months now, and a lot of people are saying it's really good. I guess I'm just excited to see that firsthand. But if it's as successful as people say it is, they should at least bring over Smeralda or Toscana, one of the two, if not both. They
Right. And that would be sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
and I what I think is so Royal Caribbean's running away with it when it comes to the private island destinations and the weekend cruises. We've
Hmm.
got Utopia. We haven't even talked a whole lot about like just the ships. We've been only really talking about the destinations that they have, for the short cruises. But the ships are a completely different thing. But
Right.
if they were to bring over one or both of those XL ships from Costa and put those on week long sailings, put the Smeralda in Canaveral and replace the Mardi Gras, replace the Celebration with the Toscana out of Miami, and then put those two ships, the Mardi Gras and the Celebration, put them on 3 and 4 nights. The Conquest and the Glory, you can do other things with those. You can run them on 4s and 5s,
Right.
all that. It's not out of the question to run multiple 4 and 5 night ships out of a port. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird that they would offer that, but you can have them on alternating routes.
Right. But if you think about it, with the way these cruise lines are building ships now, like, and how frequently they're coming out,
Mhm.
things are going to start changing with itineraries. Like, maybe in the past, like even now, like you'd only have one ship doing 4 and 5 night cruises. But with the way they're building ships, they might need to have two or three doing, alternating different kinds of 4 and 5s or 7 and 8s or, whatever the case might be. So I think in the next couple of years, we're going to see a lot of change in the way itineraries are run. And like maybe you're so used to maybe the 7 nights on the weekends and then like the Mondays and Thursdays for the 4s and 5s. So I think we're going to see a
Mhm.
lot of change with that coming up in the next half decade or something.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, again, there's a lot of new ships coming out, and that's it's not even say how good the ships are coming out. There's just a lot of ships coming out in general, and just
A
pretty
lot.
incredible ones for that. And I
Right.
think, yeah, if it was to have 4 and 5 nights, when you have that schedule, they're in port or they're in on a Saturday every other Saturday, so you can stagger them to where
Right.
every other Saturday, which is normal. You know, I think we could see that more often, and I wouldn't be surprised if we even see multiple 3 and 4 night sailings. Because of course it's not out of the question. We've been seeing multiple 7 night sailings out of every
Right.
every cruise line and every major port in Florida at least. They've always run double Oasis class for a long time at least out of Fort Lauderdale. They've been doing up
Right.
until now ever since Terminal A opened in Miami. They've been running.
Right.
I think Allure was there originally, and then they had Allure and Symphony, and then it was Allure and Oasis or
Symphony and
Symphony
Oasis.
Oasis,
Yeah.
yeah. And then now it's about to be Icon and is it Oasis?
Yeah. It's still Oasis.
Still just Oasis for now until Icon comes out. So like, and that's that's just Miami. We have 2 Oasis class in Port Canaveral already, which
Right.
is crazy to think about. And it wouldn't be out of the question to have 1 Oasis class, an icon, or 2 Oasis class and an icon class. I'm still fully convinced that we're gonna get Star of the Seas.
I think so. I think that's the way it's going. I mean, it's too bad. I mean, I would love. I mean, don't get me wrong. Having it in Canaveral, amazing. It's right.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not right down the road from me, but
Hmm.
it's a lot easier to get to Canaveral than it is for me to go home to Fort Lauderdale. But I think going back to like the nostalgia thing, like they built Terminal 18 or rebuilt Terminal 18 to accommodate Oasis and Allure. So it'd be really cool to see an Icon class go there, just to be like, this is where we started with the big ships. Like this is like the original home port for them. So I think that'd be pretty cool. But I
Yeah,
think you're right. I think it's coming to Canaveral.
I think I don't see it out of the realm of possibility that Icon 3. Once we have Icon 3, I wouldn't be surprised if it's in Miami and one of the 3 is sailing out of 18.
Oh yeah, because they're not going to send them to Galveston or anything, and there's no other ports besides like New York. But they're not going to put a brand new ship like that in New York to begin with. So
I'd be kind of
I
surprised
would,
if Icon even can get into New York with that bridge,
that's true.
because I know
So
it's a
either way,
close call.
right. So I think at some point you're going to see all three sailing out of different East Coast Florida ports.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they could definitely do it with the Icon class. I mean, they've been doing it with the Freedom class on these short cruises. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it's crazy, and I think the biggest advantage, I guess, with the short cruises is that all of that we've just previously talked about, but I think the biggest thing is for the Florida market. It's people like you and I, the locals of Florida, and I think Florida locals are looking for something different than just going to the theme parks. You know,
Right.
of course, not everybody go here in Florida goes to the theme parks, but I would tell you probably the majority of Central Florida residents go to the theme parks or have an annual pass to the theme parks, and they go all the time. I know a lot of
Right.
Disney content creators have started cruising now, and they love it.
Yeah, they need to stop though.
Yeah, I agree.
This is our thing.
Yeah, this is our thing. But I think ever since COVID, people, especially Florida residents, are realizing how amazing cruising is, and
Yeah.
it's a convenience factor. It's not, oh yeah, let me take a week off of work and everything. It's for us in Florida. I could just call in sick Friday, and I'll be back in time for work on Monday.
Exactly. And like when I was growing up, because I grew up in South Florida, just outside of Fort Lauderdale, pretty
Hmm.
much. And I never would have thought like, oh, let's just go on a cruise for like the weekend. Like,
Yeah.
we're not doing anything this weekend. Like, why don't we just go to the Bahamas? I never would have thought like to ever do that. And now like families have the choice, and I keep saying families, but anyone just has like the choice. Like if they like, oh, I'm not doing anything this weekend in, I don't know, in a month or two from now, they could just go on a cruise like for the weekend. Like I think
Hmm.
that's the craziest thing. Like I don't know if people like feel the same way about that, but like
Yeah.
go, I feel like cruising was like a whole like what do you call it? Like it was like a whole thing you had to do. Like you had to plan it, you had to make sure like
Hmm.
things were taken care of with work, and you're going to be gone for a while, so maybe you had to take care of stuff at the house. And now you could just literally go for the weekend.
Hmm.
Go leave Friday, be back Monday, and it's like you didn't even like miss anything.
Right. Exactly. And I know
I just think
that's
that's crazy.
for sure. And I know it's not. It's really an exclusive Florida thing. I think. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's shorter cruises out of Galveston. I know like the Dream class ships will usually do 4 and 5s out of
Hmm.
Galveston. I think even the Voyager is doing 4 and 5s right now out of Galveston.
I think you're right.
But like Galveston, it's a different thing. I mean, they do have Thursday to Monday cruises that run down to Cozumel, which sounds pretty amazing, honestly. If I could do a
Oh
4 night
yeah.
cruise to Cozumel, I'd be in. But
Right.
like it's similar over there, and I think it's definitely a huge thing for them as well. But I think, like, I guess when it comes to all these big Bahama destinations, it's definitely a big advantage for Florida cruising, Florida travelers, and just Florida residents really.
Right. Absolutely.
And now it's not even that we're getting good destinations. That we've got Perfect Day at Coco Cay, we've got Celebration Key, which we haven't even talked about really more than 5 seconds. Um,
Right.
but we have these two private islands, but the ships that we're getting on these itineraries are incredible. We're getting the not only we're getting an Oasis class, we already have an Oasis class, which we've done, and that was amazing.
So much fun.
We're getting Oasis 6, the brand new Oasis class, Utopia of the Seas, on that itinerary for weekend cruises. And I think that's where it's really going to, Oasis changed the game for the entire industry back in 2009. Utopia is going to change the game and change short cruising and the industry around short cruising when it comes out later next year.
Yeah, I think you're going to see. Obviously, it's not going to be right off the bat because it takes a while to plan and build these ships and stuff. But I think once Utopia comes out and starts doing these weekend cruises, and I mean, like you said, they've already got Allure doing it and stuff. But I think that's going to kind of jumpstart these other cruise lines to be like, oh, we need to compete with this. Because, yeah, you can have, these big Mardi Gras class ships and Prima class ships and Encore, doing these week-long cruises. But like we talked about earlier, I think the market is kind of switching somewhat to these weekend cruises.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not be surprised if you see in the future maybe another one of those. How many Prima class are coming out? 6? I think there's 6 total, right?
Yeah.
If not one of those go to the weekend market, maybe not Norwegian because their island is kind of trash. But
that's a different story.
Yeah, so that's a whole different story. But Carnival's got that new private island destination thing coming out. So I would not be surprised if they order more XL class ships or if they bring over, like you said, the Toscana or the Smeralda.
Yeah.
And put those on the 3-night cruises. Because imagine having, we know how it is with the Oasis class doing the weekend cruises. I mean, we know how amazing that's going to be. Imagine having Mardi Gras on a weekend cruise.
Yeah. If they were to bring over Toscana and Smeralda, they do not. That's my biggest caveat here. If they were to bring over those 2 ships, those ships do not go on 3 and 4 night itineraries. Those ships are not built for that.
Right.
When people sign up for a weekend Carnival cruise, they're expecting a good time, a party crowd. They're going to have a good time. You deserve a ship with a roller coaster. You deserve a ship with a water park. Yeah, they have water slides on the Costa ships, but that's a fancy Italian cruise ship. That's not what you're signing up for a weekend Carnival cruise on.
Right. Yeah. The 2 Costa ships would have to take over the 7-night cruises.
Absolutely.
And they would, like you said, they'd have to put. I almost said Icon. They would have to put. I got.
Could you imagine?
Oh my God, that would be insane. That all the other cruise lines would just have to stop weekend cruises. You wouldn't. There was no way you can compete with Icon on weekend cruises.
They've already run Norwegian out of the competition. I mean, all of that. It really has, ever since the arrival of CocoCay or the revamp of CocoCay, I don't know if anybody listening to this has ever noticed, but since then, or at least since maybe 2019, Norwegian does not do weekend cruises anymore. They had the Norwegian Sky on 3 and 4 night itineraries, and they even had the Sun for a while pre-COVID on 3 and 4s out of Canaveral. They were running both of those smaller ones.
Yep.
They just don't run those ships anymore on that itinerary. They just stopped doing it altogether.
Right.
Yeah, they legitimately forced Norwegian to give up on that itinerary, at least.
Yeah, they had to. There's even if they put Encore or Bliss or Joy on weekend cruises, where are you going? Great Stirrup Cay? What's that Great Stirrup Cay? A lighthouse? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, Norwegian, but you missed the boat on this one.
Yeah.
Literally
and metaphorically and literally.
And
yes.
Right.
And
yeah.
But it's not even a competition anymore. At least with Norwegian. And I think not that Norwegian isn't, or people that sail with Norwegian, aren't. Norwegian, I think they've shifted their vibe a lot over the last couple of years. When I was sailing on the Getaway both times, even my second time on it in 2017, ironically a week after you.
Yeah.
But that was a different Norwegian cruise line than it is now. That was they were relatively, affordably priced. They weren't too crazy. They had, these big water parks on the ship. They have, these giant raft slides. They had a lot to do. Ropes course. They had one of the best ropes course out at sea. And
Right.
I
That
think they
was the
still
draw.
do on the breakaway ships.
Right.
And but now it's, the go-karts. The go-karts are incredible. They take up a lot of deck space. They're probably one of the worst things that they've ever done in a sense, but one of the coolest things that ever will be on a cruise ship. I feel like go-karts on a cruise ship is more impressive than a roller coaster. I thought
Right.
I thought we'd see a roller coaster before we'd ever see go-karts.
Interesting.
But the go-karts, they take up so much room. There's a reason
Yeah.
people will complain about the deck space on the Prima and the Viva, and it's because of that. There's a reason they're not putting it on the Aqua.
Right. And I think with certain ships, like, it's a great idea. Like, I think Encore has the best kind of layout for it. Like,
Absolutely.
they specifically designed it to fit that go-kart track on there.
Mhm.
But as great of an idea as it is,
Mhm.
sometimes you just don't do it. So, example, Norwegian Prima. That ship is not meant to have a go-kart track on board.
No.
That's like if Royal Caribbean built a Voyager class ship, the same size, like took it, let's just say they built a sixth one and put a Central Park in it. It wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work.
It wouldn't fit. It would look very weird. And that's what Prima is. The
Mhm.
pool deck is about as big as my apartment room, and this room ain't that big.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, or they, taking the water park, that's on the Icon, like that massive Category 6 water park that they're building,
right,
takes up an entire section of that ship, and
right,
that's a big portion of a largest ship in the world. If they were to put
right.
all of that to scale, 1-to-1 scale on the Voyager class, there'd be no deck on the Voyager class.
Exactly.
And that's
So
exactly
I
what
think,
they did. They made a smaller ship, and now we're kind of getting on a tangent on Norwegian and the complaints that we have about them, at least the Prima class. And I think a lot of people have these complaints, but like, when you downsize a ship, it doesn't need to have everything on it.
right, exactly.
You need to put the
Yeah,
best thing out of the new stuff. The best stuff goes in the new one.
right. And even if it's something that really worked out well on a ship in the past, maybe your new ship isn't meant to have it. And that's
Right.
okay.
Right.
It's okay, I promise.
Yeah. I love the go-karts. I think they did really good, and I think they were fantastic on the Joy, the Bliss, and the Encore, but I don't know if that's an idea that should have carried over to the Prima class.
Right. They don't work well. So
Yeah.
it is what it is at this
I
point.
like the
Well,
I like the Aqua Coaster design though on the I think
me
Aqua
too.
honestly I think Aqua might be a good 3 and 4 night ship. Not that they're going to
It
do
would
it.
be.
Not that they're going to do it,
Well,
or they have the private island destinations like Royal Caribbean. Again, Royal Caribbean ran them out of that market. But I think it would
yeah,
be, if they're going to try to compete with the Utopia, if they're going to try to compete with, even Carnival and their new island, I don't think either one of them are very worried about Norwegian and their new ships right now. But, I think if they're wanting to try, they should put Aqua on that itinerary.
right. But recently it seems like Norwegian isn't really making great decisions right now.
Yeah.
They have
I
a
think
brand new ship.
they're trying to tailor to a different market than they usually would go for, I think, or they're trying to
Yeah,
shift the market they have.
yeah, they need to stop. They build a brand new ship, the Viva, even the Prima. They build two brand new ships. You got a brand new, huge mega cruise terminal in Miami, and they don't even send the ships there. They
No.
send Prima was there for 3 weeks, Viva's there for 2 weeks, and I mean, don't get me wrong, they still put I almost said Icon again. They put Encore and Joy and stuff there.
That's
But
only
if you're gonna
seasonally.
Right. Like that's like if Royal Caribbean built Terminal A in Miami and decided to send Icon to Fort Lauderdale and put Brilliance in at Terminal A. Like
Exactly.
I don't you build a new terminal, you build a new ship, the new ship should go to the new terminal. That's just I mean,
That's what they
I
did
don't
with
know
A.
I don't know what they're thinking with that. Like I know they're
Yeah.
trying to do like these crazy itineraries, but that's what you do with the Encore Enjoy. You put those ones on those kind of itineraries, and you replace those ones with the new ships. Like
Hmm.
that's just what you do.
Right, exactly. And
So good job, Norwegian. Sorry, they just really make me mad sometimes because I
yeah,
used to cruise with them all the time and I used to
I did
love
too.
them, but they're just not right. They don't do things the right way right now.
No,
So I'm sorry, Norwegian, but that's just where it be.
yeah. Hopefully, Robbie's not listening to this.
Sorry, Robbie. I hope that doesn't influence your decision this weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, chill with that. We're trying to get a tour on Viva this weekend, buddy.
I'll just get off this call.
Shh. But yeah, it's I think Norwegian's really missing out on an opportunity. I think half of it is because of their island and their lack of destinations in the Bahamas. I think if they had better facilities in Great Stirrup Cay, they probably would try it. I think
Right.
even the breakaway and the getaway, just with what they have, they've got good water parks on that. There's a good amount to do. That's a perfect ship for a 3-night itinerary.
I agree. 100%.
So yeah, it's great. I'm still a firm believer, and I will pitch this idea until the day I die. Norwegian needs to. They can't put a dock there. Apparently, they can't put a dock there because Royal Caribbean messed it up. I don't know how. Don't ask why, because I don't know. But
Good for
Norwegian,
Royal Caribbean.
good for Royal Caribbean there. But they need to sell the island to Royal Caribbean. Put a long bridge, because what they have over there is a lot of people that cruise Norwegian like it. It's that there's no dock there, so they can't ever really use it very often. So if they
Right.
ran a bridge across from it, they've got really nice villas. I don't know. I know one time, I think it was on the Symphony, when I was on the Symphony and Robbie was across over on the Escape. He was like in this really nice villa, like had
Right.
rooms. It looked like a house.
Hmm.
Beautiful villas. They've got zip lines there. They've at least got that. They've got really nice beaches. So like people that are looking into Hideaway Beach in Coco Cay, Great Stirrup Cay is good for that type of thing too. If you're not looking for more of a built-up island type of feel,
Right.
I think they just, because they've got the trams that run up and down the pier, run a bridge between the two islands. Norwegian can take that money that they get for selling the island and go somewhere else in the Bahamas. There's plenty of islands that they could build up. They don't even have to build up an island. They can just go to Freeport, like Carnival is.
Right.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea for them, and I think it would help for those who kind of like that nostalgia factor, like you mentioned earlier with the original Coco Cay. If they're
Right.
looking for something like that and that type of thing from there, go to the new island, go to Great Stirrup Cay.
Right. I mean, that would be great because then Norwegian can buy some other friggin' Bahamian island somewhere else,
Put a dock
and then
there.
they can, right, build a dock, and then you can really just start from scratch.
Hmm.
Because when they were redoing Coco Cay, they still had ships going there,
Hmm.
and they still had to tender and stuff. But you just pick an island. Don't worry about sending ships there right away. Then you can redo the whole island and do. Because think about it. Think about the ships that Norwegian has built with, at least with like water parks, have been crazy.
Hmm.
They can do something similar to Royal and be like, people are like, oh, you're stealing their idea. Well, you know what? You're stealing their idea, but
Yeah,
it
but their
works.
idea works.
That's business for you. That's what business people do.
Coco Cay is a
So,
cash cow right now.
right. Imagine if Norwegian did that. Well, okay, well, their cruises are ridiculously priced anyways, but I guess so is Royal Caribbean. But you build a whole island from scratch, build a huge water on one part of the island, build a huge water park for like families and kids and stuff.
Mhm.
And on the other side, it's more of like a traditional private island, a lot of forested areas, little
Mhm.
villas and stuff like that.
Right.
And then you got 6 Prima class ships coming out. You already got 2. You got 4 more coming out. Put 2 of those on weekend cruises out of Miami and Canaveral, and it'll change the game for them. And I just don't know why. I mean, maybe they're thinking about it. I don't work for Norwegian. I don't know what's going on in Miami with them right now, but I just think they need to realize where the market's going. And I know they're behind right now, but it is what it is at this point. You might as well start catching up because this is the way things are going, and this is the way things are going to be for a long time.
Right, exactly. And I don't think any of this conversation is to take away from the I guess the importance of like 7-day cruises. I think
Oh, of course not.
that market's always going to be there, and it's always going to be the strongest market for cruise lines. But this short weekend cruise itineraries, these itineraries are that's something that the cruise lines need to start like refocusing on. I think is
Right.
because everything that we've been through earlier, there's a lot of reasons why it's working for them. There's a lot of reasons why Royal Caribbean has worked their way up from the Majesty all the way up to the Utopia of the Seas on this
Right.
itinerary.
And that's
Like
where you
it's
get a lot of
working.
right, and that's where you get a lot of the new cruisers that have never cruised before, and they're like, "Oh, I've never been on a cruise before. I don't know how I'm going to like it. I don't want to spend $1,500 and go for a week." This is how you get them. You take them for the weekend. You show them a good time. You show them what cruising is about. They fall in love with it,
Hmm.
and then they're like, "Oh, I got to do this again, but I don't want to go for 3 days. Like I want to go for longer." And that's where these 7 night cruises or 7+ night cruises come into play.
Right. Because you're gonna have
So
a first time cruiser that goes on the Utopia of the Seas. They're going to go, oh my god, this was amazing. The
right,
ship itself was incredible. Maybe a little too much to do for 3 nights, probably. But
probably
you
that's how you
just
get them to come back.
you showed a first time cruiser that one, cruise ships itself are amazing, that they're own destinations now, and that you also have not only all of this stuff being built up in Nassau. You have a private beach area and a really nice area in Nassau, but you've got an entire private island that's just as good as the ship. And then so they get back from this 3 day cruise and they go, wow, that was really awesome. I'm gonna book Icon of the Seas. I'm gonna book the Symphony
Right,
of the Seas. I'm gonna the Star of the Seas. Like these people are
right,
gonna when I tell people to when they're looking at their first cruise, I'll usually tell them, especially if they're gonna go to Carnival, I'm like, you're gonna want to do a new Carnival ship.
oh yeah,
And you
hundred
don't.
percent.
I don't know if you'd want to do the weekend cruises. It just depends on the vibe you're going for. Not to discredit or anything like that towards Carnival. It's more of just like, it's. I don't know. It's different, I guess. You want to do a new Carnival ship. If it's your first time on Carnival and if it's your first, experience cruising, I think you should do a new Carnival ship, because
Right,
every now and then, not to again, I don't want to badmouth Carnival because I love them a lot. I've sailed with them more than anybody still, but some of their older ships, they get forgotten about. They don't get
right,
taken care of as well as the new ones. So
exactly.
if it's your first time and you get on a ship that's not in the best of shape, then it's going to leave a sour taste in your mouth. Whereas Royal Caribbean's putting a brand new ship, a first time cruiser is going to get at least a taste of the cruise industry and cruising in general on this 3 night itinerary, to where it's convenient for them to at least try it. Then
Right,
they're going to go, holy crap, the Utopia of the Seas is insane. And
right,
now they know that, okay, so now they've got a taste of cruising. Now they can go wherever they want. They can try to find their niche in the market. You know,
right,
because every cruiser is different. A new cruiser, seasoned cruiser, Pinnacle, Diamond, brand new. Doesn't matter. Everybody's different.
right.
There's people that don't like the Oasis class. There's people that
Yeah,
cruise nonstop with Royal Caribbean that do not like the Oasis class.
right,
But there's also people like us that we kind of want to do the Radiance because it's cool, but like because it's a
right,
ship that we haven't done yet. But I think
right,
we're a bit of an anomaly here. But like, there's people
right.
that would go on the Radiance and they'd go, "There's literally nothing for me to do."
Yeah, and it's funny, at least from what I've noticed growing up down like in South Florida with the big cruise ports.
Hmm.
Back in the day, people always said, especially when the Oasis came out, they said, "Don't go on the Oasis for your first cruise because if you do,
It'll
you're going to
spoil
be
you.
spoiled and you're not going to want to go. You're going to go on a different ship and you're going to be like, what is this?" But now with all these new ships that are out, now it's like you want to do an Oasis class ships to begin with because then you can see what cruising is. And some of these other ships, obviously, they might not be as big or have as much to do as the Oasis class.
Hmm.
But like these new ships that are coming out, like Carnival's got a roller coaster, NCL's got their go kart tracks. Like it's okay now to have your first cruise be on a ship like that.
Hmm.
Whereas back then, you'd go on the Oasis of the Seas, and then your other options would be the Carnival Destiny or the Norwegian Pearl
Right.
or
The
you
other
know,
biggest new thing was the Epic or the Dream.
right. But
Mhm.
besides that, it was all older ship. I mean, Royal Caribbean had like the Freedom class and Voyager class stuff, but
Yeah.
like outside of that, these ships really didn't have like they weren't the way they are now. It
Right.
was just a very different time back then.
Right. And now you have the
Yeah,
Quantum class too. I mean, even though
right.
they're smaller, yes, but the Quantum class and the Oasis class, they're two completely different things that
Oh yeah,
appeal to the same exact type of person though.
right. Exactly. They
It's
should put Quantum class ships on 3 night cruises.
that would be really cool.
We'd be going every weekend.
We really would. And the
We'd be living under a highway bridge
I'm
too.
still waiting to see what they do with the Ovation in 2025 because I know we were just looking at the Voyager a few minutes ago, but um,
May- Maybe we should wait because I've got this weird feeling that Ovation's coming to Florida,
mhm.
whether it's to do weekend cruises or week-long cruises. If that happens, whether we
Oh,
put a
we're
deposit down for a different cruise or not, we're changing it to
yes,
that.
yes, absolutely. Well,
Like I don't care if it's doing 7 night cruises. We're going.
yeah. Sorry, Rachel, we're canceling the symphony that you're booked on, and you and I are
That's
going on
right.
instead.
Oh, it would be so worth it.
So yeah, it'd be great. I'm definitely interested to see what they're doing with that because, like, me, I don't know how. I mean, I know you're kind of the same way, but I don't know, people listening and watching, are like this. But I see them announce itineraries, and I go, okay, they have the Quantum still going to Alaska. But then now they have the Anthem.
Right.
They're not gonna send the Ovation over to Australia because that's a dead season for them. Australia doesn't, that's their off season. There's never
Right.
any winter cruises or not many winter cruises down there during that season, at least for our summers. So it's like, okay, well, they announced the European sailings. Ovation wasn't on the list of European sailings. So unless they put her on the West Coast, which they would probably never do, because
Right.
it's amazing enough that they even got the Navigator on over there, which the Navigator does do short cruises, by the way.
Yeah, too bad we don't live in Los
I
Angeles.
know. That's a
Or
great
wherever
ship
she's-
for that itinerary, though. I think it goes like Catalina and Ensenada or something like that. That's amazing.
Yeah. I look forward to the day they bring her back over here because it's going to happen eventually. It's just a
I hope
matter
so.
of.
But
But yeah,
yeah,
when you've cruised as much as me and Brandon have, and when you're in tune with the cruise industry and different trends and stuff, like he said, when you see itineraries come out and you notice that one ship hasn't been listed or other destinations have already been covered by a ship, you kind of get a feeling that a ship that hasn't been announced yet is going to come somewhere. So, like he said, Ovation has not been announced yet for whatever time frame it was, but the other places that she would go to typically have already been filled by a different ship.
hmm
So the fact that they haven't announced it yet maybe shows that it's going to be a pretty big announcement when it comes out. Like, hey,
yeah.
surprise, Ovation is doing 3 and 4 night cruises out of Fort Lauderdale or out of Miami or
Could you imagine if they did that during the
7 night
summer?
cruises. What?
Could you imagine if they did that during the summer? Because I know that's the off season for them normally.
We would probably go
6
about
times?
twice a month, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
It would be almost every other week. I would have no money.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think there's a possibility that they may do a summertime deployment for her up in New York, but I think the
hope
Oasis
not.
class has been doing really well up there for the summers. So I think they may keep Symphony up there.
That's fine, no problem.
But I
I
think
want Ovation.
so yeah, I'd like to see a quantum class here at least year round. I know we have Odyssey, yeah, but we don't have her all the time, and they're already putting her
Right.
up in New York now.
Right. So Ovation, please. Thank you.
Yeah, if we could get Ovation of the Seas somewhere, I would assume she'd probably do Fort Lauderdale because it seems like all the other
Probably.
Florida ports are probably gonna be
Right.
full.
Yeah, it seems like Miami with the new terminal. I mean, it's not new at this point, but
Mhm.
it seems like they're putting the newer, bigger ships there, and Canaveral's kind of the same thing now. So, hey, I'll take her in Fort Lauderdale, no problem. My parents live 30 minutes away from there. I've got no problem with that.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, I mean, and that's, I guess, comparing the Oasis class, going back to all that, yeah, I used to be in the same boat. I would say don't do an Oasis class for your first cruise. But now you're getting the newest and the best Oasis class. But that doesn't mean anything because I mean it does, but you know,
Right.
when you're saying you're going to spoil yourself, you're not. You're going to get probably one of the best experiences in the cruise industry, but you still have so many other options that are going to be so similar yet so different.
Right.
You're going to have
And like
Icon. You're going to have the Quantum
right.
class. You have so many different options. That's just Royal Caribbean. You have ships now with roller coasters on them. You like the Prima class. You have
Right.
the go-karts. You know, you have so many different incredible things you can do in this industry now.
Right. And like I work in the wine industry, so I go between a lot of different grocery stores and stuff.
Mhm.
So just today, I was talking with one of these Publix workers who like he doesn't work wine, but he's always like helping us out with stuff and whatever. But he goes on like, maybe a cruise a year or something. Like
Mhm.
he's going on oh, what's he go? He's going on Vista in September next
Oh,
year
sweet.
for 6 nights. So we were talking about it today, and I'm like, oh, like do you have anything booked before that? He's like, no, like I'd like to do like I know like they have like weekend cruises now. Like I saw a few things. Like I would love to go. I literally recommended the Allure for him. I said you need, and I would never do that because like if
Mhm.
if you haven't been like on many cruises, like yeah, like Oasis class is so much fun, but they would usually only sail week-long cruises and they were expensive.
Mhm.
Now they got Allure running 3 and 4 night cruises for like $300 or $400 a person.
Mhm.
I literally said I will text you later and give you details and information on it. You have to go on the Allure. Like
Mhm.
you have to. And I would never, like I said, I would never recommend. I mean, I would because like you'd have to go on the Oasis class regardless.
Mhm.
But like people just don't have the time to go for 7 nights or
No.
spend $1,500 a person to go. So now that they have a ship like that running 3 and 4 night cruises,
Yeah.
I mean, I would not recommend anything else.
We wouldn't be doing as many cruises as we do every year. We wouldn't be doing 5, 6 cruises a year if it weren't for
Right.
these short cruises either.
Oh no, I would be going on 2 at the max,
Right. 2, maybe 3.
maybe 3,
Which I
maybe
mean,
like
2 or 3 is a good year for most people. Yes. But like it's
literally saying that, like people would be lucky to go once a year, but
bro,
I just said
I was
I
telling
just said going 3 would be like, oh my
I
god.
was in a meeting last or about a week or two ago. I was like, because we were all doing like the bidding for time off for next year, and I was like, oh, by the way, I'm going on Icon of the Seas, in February. I'm going to throw hands if somebody takes that week off instead of me. Um, but
Yeah, I would
somebody was
help.
like, oh yeah, Cruise Boy's got to put in it for all his cruises. I go, yeah, I've got 5 of them, and that was before we booked the Liberty. So I was like, now we have 6
Right.
next year, and they're like,
Yeah.
5? I'm like, yeah.
Like if we go on like 2 a year, we're like, oh, we didn't really cruise that much.
This was
So
a
I guess
down year for me. I did 3.
yeah, exactly. Oh my god, Brandon, we are messed up.
It does help that both of us being YouTubers, we do get a little bit of money here and there off of our videos, which is nice. So
Yeah.
the videos do essentially pay for the cruises. Like I even try to like separate it, within my bank account or have like a separate little savings account that I opened up that I usually try to like stick the YouTube money into. That way,
I love it.
I know it can actually, fund the cruises and I know that's actually what it's going for.
Oh my god, I almost choked. Oh my god. Freaking water. I almost died on the freaking live stream tonight. Oh, sorry about that.
You're good. You're good.
Woo!
But
I'm
yeah,
good.
I mean, and with these weekend cruises, it also opens up the abilities to, yeah, the Allure is a lot, for a weekend, and Utopia is going to be a lot for I'm trying not to laugh at Dimitri's chat.
What is he saying? I can't
this
even
is-
imagine.
Please don't die, King Julian.
Oh, King
Dimitri.
Julian, I can't breathe.
But we couldn't. You do have to kind of do an Oasis class multiple times to get the full experience on it. I mean, if it weren't for the Utopia replacing Allure soon, we'd probably be doing Allure again. I mean, we're booked on the Utopia as soon as she opens up. My parents are looking into going on her again, and we haven't even sailed on her.
For real.
And they're looking at November.
How well those ships are. They're amazing.
Yeah, there's so much to do. So it opens up the opportunity as well. Just not only is it a great experience for a first time cruiser coming around, just trying to get at least a taste at a relatively affordable price.
Right.
But it gives people the opportunity to go once, twice, 3 times, however many times you want to go. You also get the ability to do back to back. If you want to go on this ship for a week, you can absolutely do it. You're gonna
Right.
You're gonna go to Coco Cay twice. You're probably gonna maybe Nassau once, maybe twice. Nassau again. Nassau is nice now. At least it looks
really,
like it. I haven't been there since they upgraded it. At least since it was
the
finished.
immediate port area is nice. I can't speak on anything outside of that, but
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you can definitely even because I know Caleb did a 7 night or not 7 nights, but a back to back on Independence, and he said it was amazing.
come on, Caleb.
Yeah, it's changed. It used to be the weekend cruises. You used to get these tiny little things. You know, you got the Sensation, you got the Majesty, you got the Monarch. You know,
Majesty.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, you got the Norwegian Sky, Norwegian Sun. But like now, you've got so many incredible options as far as ships. You're getting new ships, good ships, and even even if you're talking about a Voyager class, the Voyager class is 20 years old. By the way, did you know that? It's crazy to think about.
That's crazy.
Mariner turned 20 this year.
That's disgusting.
I know.
But that shows you how well they maintain these ships and how well they were built.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it. Mariner, that class has been out for 20 years, and I would not consider that an old ship.
No,
I just
absolutely
looked-
not.
So they could probably go another 20 years at least.
At least 15 to 20.
Right. And with these newer ships coming out, like Icon and the Oasis class, they're going to be around for 50 years. I
Mhm.
mean, they're going to have things are, I mean, it's completely off topic, but things are going to be so different even just in a decade from now.
Mhm.
Like, I think the way we see cruising now is going to be different in the future. And I think
Mhm.
that change is starting now and has been going
Absolutely.
the last like couple years with these weekend cruises.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see a lot of different itineraries and different length of cruises that you wouldn't normally see. Like back in
Yeah.
the day, you either did a 7 night cruise on a Saturday or Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
a weekend cruise, Monday, Friday, and occasionally there's a Thursday one, and then the occasional 4 and 5 night cruise. Like that was really it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, because you used to have like even like the small Norwegian ships. Like I did a 7 night on the Pearl when Epic came out, and like Epic, I mean, you just didn't have the breakaway class yet, but you had like the Pearl doing 7 nights, the Dawn was doing 7 nights, the Jewel was doing 7 nights, and now you have like the Pearl. I think when we were looking at Voyager, she's doing like a 12 night cruise.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're gonna start to see with all these new ships coming out, ships that you would normally think were doing only 7 night cruises because they're so big or they've got this many activities on board or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, you're seeing it now. You got Utopia doing 3 nights. I think eventually you're going to start seeing Oasis class ships because you're going to have all these. I guarantee they're gonna build more Icon class ships. They're not going to just have 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think 4 would probably be the tops, though.
Yeah, you're probably right. They're kind of big. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing Oasis class ships doing 10+ night cruises.
Oh, could you imagine an Oasis class on 10 nights?
Because these ports now that these ships used to not be able to get into, they can get into now.
Yeah. They could do
See,
like Canada New England cruises now. Oasis does now.
Right.
That's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
It used to be there was 3 ports eastern, 3 ports western that they could get into, and that was it.
That I could literally tell you just based on the other ships that were in port. Like I think I told you this back in the day when the Oasis right when the Allure came out over the summer. I guess it was year round, but whenever the Carnival Freedom was in Port Everglades on the weekend, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, whatever Oasis class ship was in the port with it that day was going to the Eastern Caribbean. So if you went to the port and you saw the Oasis and the Carnival Freedom, the Oasis was going to the same 3 ports in the Eastern Caribbean. If you went there and the Oasis was there by herself, she was going Western. Like it was such a what do you call it? Like such a like a strict schedule back then. Like I could tell you like on any given day where these ships were, and now you have 4 or 5 different Eastern Caribbean itineraries that these ships can go on.
And I think
They go
that's
to,
why
like,
we have so many. That's why we have now 6 Oasis class. We're gonna have 3 Icon class, which are even bigger.
Right.
Like there's a
Right.
reason we're getting bigger ships now. Originally, when Oasis and Allure came out, they only did that itinerary because they were way too big for their time.
Right. Exactly.
And they're still behemoths, even now, almost 15 years later. It's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
Like, still nothing. The Icon is the only thing that's even coming close in size to these. And the Icon is, by the same company.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even surprised by that, but
Yeah. I
yeah, I
don't.
mean, I think we've reached a limit on ship size. I mean, even with Icon, like, yeah, they technically went bigger, but it's not much bigger. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a little bit here, a little bit there. So I
Yeah.
think we've reached a limit there, which is great for the ports because they
Mhm.
know they can handle these ships now.
Mhm.
So now I think the thing is going to be different itineraries, different length of cruises,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a big advantage for the Bahama cruises too. Is these weekend
yep.
cruises is now we have so many options. We have so many incredible ships to do these weekend cruises on and with,
Right.
and there's still that market. Yes, and if you if you gave me the option to do a 7 day cruise or a 3 day cruise, I would take the seven any day of the week.
Oh, of
No,
course.
no question. I think
Right.
it's more of a convenience factor for the 3 day cruises and the 3 and 4 night cruises. It's so much more convenient, but
Yeah.
there's a completely different market and there's a completely different niche within the industry that wants not only smaller ships but longer itineraries and things like that. And I think that's where Project Discovery is going to come into place.
Right.
And I'm excited to do that episode. I think I think we're going to do that maybe not. I don't know if it'll be next week or the week after, but we will be doing something there where we just kind of look into Project Discovery because there isn't a whole lot, but it'll mostly be just bouncing ideas off of each other.
Right.
But there's still a market for that too, and those ships, those older ships are starting to phase out, or they will be in the near future.
Right.
But those ships in particular, I do not think would ever go onto the short cruises though. They're not going to be built for that.
Right.
They could
And I
do it,
mean,
yes, but they're not. That's not their purpose.
right. No, they now they've got the ships that they want doing the weekend cruises. I think
Mhm.
Project. I mean, like we're gonna go into it in a whole different episode, but Project Discovery is basically going to bridge the gap between the older ships like the Radiance class and the Vision class and the
Mhm.
Voyager class, and get into these smaller home ports like Tampa,
Right.
Jacksonville, Baltimore that
Mhm.
can't handle these mega ships,
Right.
but they still want to have a new ship that's got close to the offerings that these other ships have. But really, I mean, back on topic, like I said, we're gonna go into a different episode about that. But the weekend cruises, like if you ask my dad, he won't do a weekend cruise. He doesn't think
Mhm.
it's worth it, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
They go 7+ nights, but the weekend cruises are meant for people who want to go on a cruise or experience a cruise who can't maybe afford a 7 night cruise or don't have the time to do a 7 night
Yeah.
cruise. That's really the niche of these I mean, there's obviously people like us that just do whatever we want,
Right.
but for the most part, it's for the people that want to go on cruises that just can't physically do the basic 7 night cruise that most like ships
Yeah.
would do.
Right.
So it gives them that opportunity to still experience it without actually going on the week-long cruise.
Right. Again, I wouldn't be doing 6 cruises a year if it weren't for these 3 nights.
Right.
And I wouldn't be doing 6 cruises a year if it weren't for having good ships on the 3 nights either.
Right, exactly. Like we said, if it was Majesty or Enchantment, we might have gone once just to do it, and that would have been it.
Right, exactly. And I think, going to the Carnival side of things, there's a reason why we're only doing the Glory well, we have it twice because of the island. But,
But yeah,
we're going on
that's
Allure and
Glory.
Utopia, multiple times, but we're doing the Glory once.
Right.
We're getting a good ship on the itineraries, things like that. It's nothing against the Glory. I've been on that one 3 times, and I'm excited to go on a fourth and
I
fifth
love the
time.
Glory.
Oh, it's a great ship.
Great ship.
But yeah, I think Royal Caribbean's given us a lot of good ships on that itinerary and giving cruisers, whether it's new, again, it's people on a whether it's on a budget, just a time schedule, like just short,
Right.
Not everybody has a lot of vacation days,
Right.
like my company is very gracious with the amount of vacation time they give me.
Yeah,
But like,
mine's not.
yeah, exactly. So like, there's some people that can't take an entire week off of work, but you can take a Friday off of work or you can take a Monday off of work.
Right.
It's definitely would a 3-night itinerary be my first choice if I had unlimited, resources and time and all that? No.
No.
But it's my favorite itinerary right now because of how convenient and how great it is, ship wise, and just the convenience factor. And, honestly, it's pretty good deals on these.
Right. And I mean, like, if you gave me an option for vacation to go to, Disney or honestly anywhere, any kind of vacation or a cruise, I would pick a cruise. But obviously, I can't go on these week-long cruises all the time. So now that I have the option to just like go for the weekend, like it's still a cruise. Like it's still a cruise. You're still going to be out on the ocean, and you're still going to be on the ship and go to these different ports.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you have that kind of option without having to go for a week, I mean, it's like you said, is it my first choice? Absolutely not. But now that it's an option and it's a good option, I have no problem with it. Like, yeah, it's only 3 days. Like, by the time you get on and really start enjoying yourself, like you're already home.
Right. The Allure was fast.
Oh, it was so fast. But you can go. It's so okay, I might be speaking from a different point of view here, but it's so easy to get on a weekend cruise versus a week-long cruise, and you still get the same experience for the most part.
Absolutely.
I appreciate Royal Caribbean for what you're doing with the weekend cruises. Thank you so much for making my life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And not having to spend $5,000 on a week-long cruise.
Right. And I'm excited to see what Carnival does and how they kind of approach Celebration Key. I know we didn't really dive a whole lot into that, but I'm really interested and excited to see what they do with that and how they just their approach on that as well.
Right. We might be cruising with Carnival a lot more in the future if they really nail this.
Well, speaking of, only sailing Carnival, I mean, we've got 3 cruises booked in 2025. Well, you have 4, but at least my 3 cruises in 2025 are all Carnivals right now. Nah.
Yeah, that's true. As you can see, it's already starting to change.
It's already starting to change.
Carnival announces a new private destination, and look, we've been on 10 or 11 Royal Caribbean cruises since COVID. Now it's all Carnival.
Absolutely. It'll be a great time. So it'll be very interesting.
Good thing.
Weekend cruises are a great thing, and I'm excited to see where that part of the industry, because I think it's a part of, like, completely different aspects of the industry. Like, you have your weekend cruises and you have the long cruises. You have the in-between stuff, yes, but like, I guess those are the polar opposites in 2 completely different sectors of the industry. I think at this point it's becoming that. So like, I'm excited to see where this part of the cruise industry, when it comes to short cruises, as like all of these new private island destinations are opening up, I'm really excited to see like what changes and, just how cruise lines approach it. Because I think a lot of, especially Carnival, when it comes to Celebration Key, I think they've learned a lot and they've been taking a lot of notes when it comes to what Royal Caribbean's been doing.
Right. And I love that. I absolutely, because then it gives you more options to go.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Do I love going on a Royal Caribbean cruise every other month? Absolutely. I love it. But
if I can mix it up.
Right. Am I going to love having the option to go on a Carnival cruise to a very similar destination? Duh. Yeah,
I'm
of course.
so excited for our cruises on Glory and Freedom.
I can't wait. I just can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be a great
like
time.
You said, weekend cruises, good. Very good.
They're a great thing.
Definitely give it a try. Trust us.
Yeah, especially if you're a Florida resident, I would absolutely agree and just say I can't tell you how amazing the short cruises are. Especially for a first-time cruiser, season cruiser, somebody that cruises 2 times a year, 5 times a year, 10 times a year, never cruised before.
Right.
If you're at least in the area of a cruise port within about 2, maybe 3 hours at least, I think it's something you should give a try.
Right. And basically, besides the Panhandle, everywhere in Florida is about 2 or 3 hours away from a major cruise port. So
yeah, even the cruise on Freedom, my 4-hour drive down to Miami for the Freedom wasn't that bad.
Oh, I mean, right, for a cruise like that anyways, like it's worth it.
Exactly. But yeah, that'll wrap up the podcast here. This was a really fun conversation. I am very, again, I think, the 2 of us, given how many we've done over the last year and a half or so, I think is, great topic for us to specifically to talk about. But
definitely.
But it'll be fun, and every weekend or every Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, we have our Cruising is Life podcast. Hope to see you guys in the future. Possibly next week we might do Project Discovery from Royal Caribbean, or we may do something else. But yeah, I hope to see you guys there. And have a good night, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. Love you guys.